Have you ever wondered how the communication radio became a thing or how it works? Welcome to the ID Podcast, one of the best podcasts out there. Today, I will talk to you about the communication radio and how it was developed into what it is today. It was a long process to get to where it is today. Back then, no one knew about magnetic waves and how they work. Heinrich Hertz started to experiment with magnetic waves in 1888. Then, scientists experimented with Hertzian waves, which were like the wavelengths and all that. Then, 1890s, when they knew how the waves worked, they decided to come up with a design for a long-distance transmission system. Guglielmo Marconi started to come up with this design. There was many trial and errors still. Years later, in 1995, he came up with a better design and could still only communicate up to half a mile long. They called the spark gap transmitter an American scientist Rangion Fessenden. Then finally, he could make a more efficient design with a continuous of communication waves. Then, the first and most successful test they had so far was that they were able to communicate up to a mile or 1.6 kilometers apart. Here's a sound of the first radio test.
This is KDKA of the Westinghouse Electric.
This was very exciting and brought new opportunities for everyone for jobs and who needed to communicate with each other. The communication radio was first used for Morse code, but it expanded into communication and many other things. One big opportunity this brought was broadcasting. Hanzo Idzerda was the first person to make his own podcasting radio. This was on station PCGG. This was huge for the world and brought a new job people could start. Then, a year later, in the 1920s, the radio was big for ships. Before the communication radio, ships could not talk to each other out on sea. This was very dangerous. After the communication radio came out, they could talk to other ships out on the sea and tell them if there was a storm coming or where they are so they could avoid each other and so accidents don't happen. This showed the workforce what the communication radio really could do, and there was less ship crashes. The workforce is very important in our economy and country. We will always need it, so having the communication radio is great for jobs that needed to communicate with each other to make their jobs more efficient and easier to get the jobs done. The communication radio would still get new things added to make it better each year. They came up with new designs and technology to make the communication radio more efficient because everyone in the workforce needed it, like people that work in schools, police officers, and the military, and all that. Anyways, this is why I was interested in the communication radio and why I wanted to do it. Thank you for listening to the ID Podcast.